The North Carolina Tar Heels entered 2023 with, well, I'll say a mixed bag of expectations. The offense has a Heisman contender at quarterback and some really good pieces elsewhere on the field offensively, but defensively, this team was an atrocity last season, and maybe the coaching staff is holding them back a little bit too, as some theorize, including myself. Can North Carolina improve that defense enough and maybe even become a college football playoff contender in 2023? Or is this team going to have another disappointing year and fall below expectations yet again this season? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I am doing your favorite teams. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you see when that video gets uploaded. But hey, there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video. You can do more if you'd like by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you can think to help support my channel, because whatever you guys are able to do means a lot to me. Let's talk about North Carolina here in 2023. Mixed bag of opinions for sure about this team. It's going to be interesting to watch this team in 2023. Hey, how do preview predictions work this year? Glad you asked. We go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Tar Heel football schedule and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk North Carolina football in 2023. Starting to take a look first at the quarterback room. Jacoby Criswell only threw 6 passes last year. He's gone, but your returner is Drake May. And very similar to Sam Howell, had a phenomenal first season under center for North Carolina. We'll see if he can live up to standard and keep it going. But 4,321 yards passing, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 66% completion percentage. He's a Heisman frontrunner for sure, one of the Heisman favorites. Very, very talented quarterback. He's going to be a very good player for North Carolina this season. Now, he was also the team's leading rusher last year. 698 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. You do get some pieces back, though. British Brooks, who I believe was out with injury last year, does come back. Elijah Green was the leading rusher among running backs. 558 yards and 8 touchdowns. Omarion Hampton and Caleb Hood there as well. This team averaged 4.2 yards per carry. There's just a lot of running backs in the room that can help get carries for this North Carolina team. Now, looking at the wide receiver room here, well, you lose your 2 biggest pieces here, as Josh Downs with 1,029 yards and 11 touchdowns, and Antoine Green with 798 yards and 7 touchdowns, both of the 2 leading receivers for this team last season. They are both gone off this team. So Drake May is going to have some new weapons to work with, as well as some returning weapons as well. J.J. Jones is the leading returner among wide receivers last year, 434 yards and 2 touchdowns. But you also return guys like Kobe Paysor, Gavin Blackwell, among others, as well as getting some transfers coming into this program as well. Devontae Walker's a 4-star rated, very high 4-star rated transfer coming over by way of Kent State. And then Nate McCollum comes over by way of Georgia Tech as a 3-star rated transfer. Those numbers are according to 24/7 Sports. In the tight end room, you got some good pass catchers here as well, as Kamari Morales comes back. John Copenhaver also returns, as well as Bryson Nesbitt. Nesbitt, the leading receiver among the 3, with 507 yards, 4 touchdowns. Morales, 358 yards and 4 touchdowns as well. When you take a look at the offensive line, Asim Richards is gone, but you also return a lot of talent. Corey Gaynor, Jonathan Adorno, Spencer Rolland, Williams Barnes, and Willie Lampkin is a transfer coming into this program as well. That should give a nice boost to the offensive line. He's coming over by way of Coastal Carolina. We know what Drake May is. There are a lot of good options in this running back room, but how do you replace the production of Josh Downs and Antoine Green? That is the big question for North Carolina this season. Maybe some of these transfers can do it, but right now you're looking at a very, very talented offense for North Carolina in 2023. But the problem is this defense, right? It was, well, very bad last season in a lot of categories. In fact, overall, it was just not a great defense last year. It definitely needs all the pieces to be able to be a very good team, or even a slightly improved defense this year. Now, let's talk about each position, right? On the defensive line, Raymond Vohasek is gone, but you do return most really good production on this defensive line. Kevin Hester, Miles Murphy, Javari Ritzy, Desmond Evans, and Kyman Rucker all come back to this team. Rucker had 3.5 sacks last year. That led the team. This is a team that did not generate a lot of sacks last year at all. They did not get back to the quarterback. Now, there is a lot of talent there, and there is a lot of returners come back. So maybe experience is big in that defensive line. Linebacking group, you lose a little more talent, though, don't you? Chris Collins, Noah Taylor. Those are both guys that are going to be gone, as well as Rainiera Dilworth that are going to be leaving this linebacking group. All of them pretty solid players in the linebacking group for them last season. However, Cedric Gray and Power Eccles, who are your two leading tacklers last year, Cedric Gray with 144 of them last year. Power Eccles 103, couple sacks between them. Gray 2 interceptions, Eccles 1 interception on the year last season. And then you also get a transfer coming over in Amari Gaynor. He's a transfer coming over from Florida State that should be a solid addition to this linebacking group as well. In the defensive back group, you do lose some good pieces here. Tony Grimes had 7 passes defended last season. Cameron Kelly, another very good player. Storm Duck led the team with 10 passes defended and 3 interceptions last season. And then Don Chapman is going to be a name that leaves as well. However, Giovanni Biggers, DeAndre Boykins, Will Hardy, and Lejon Cavazos are going to be names that return to the secondary, as well as a ton of transfers getting into the secondary as well. And it is well needed in this North Carolina secondary. Elijah Huzzy, Derek Allen, Armani Chapman, and Antavius Lane all come in to help bolster up this secondary, and all of it is well needed. Now, all of them 4 or 3-star rated transfers, I should say, but it's good needed depth in the secondary position. A lot hinges on this defense if North Carolina wants to have a successful season this year. Your head coach is Mack Brown, offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey, and defensive coordinator Charlton Warren. As we take a look at the 2023 Tar Heel football schedule. Hey, any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road is in italics or the slanted text. Any game in green is a game where I see North Carolina being able to win easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, okay, the other team will put up a fight, but I think North Carolina will still win. And then red is a loss. I think you start out the season with a loss in your neutral site game in Charlotte against South Carolina. I think people are sleeping on the Gamecocks this season. This is going to be a very, very good Gamecock offense. Now, I know they do lose some pieces here and there as well, but with Spencer Rattler, if he can improve his play from past couple seasons and get really, really consistent. Shane Beamer, a phenomenal head coach. I know they also lose their offensive coordinator, but with this North Carolina defense being as bad as it was last year, I do not think everything is going to be solved week 1. I think South Carolina has a good enough offense to exploit it, and they got some guys on defense that could be able to slow down this North Carolina attack as well. So I got South Carolina winning that neutral site game in Charlotte. I think that's going to be a very, very solid team there with South Carolina this season. Now, App State, again, we know the story with App State last year. Some instant classics. You could not miss an App State game at the beginning of the year last year, and they really did give North Carolina a very, very good run. And App State will probably do the same again this year. A lot of talented players on offense that can give this North Carolina defense a struggle. I think it's going to be another shootout effort like last year, and North Carolina, yet again, walks away from a win on the back of Drake May and company. I think they'll get the win over App State. Now, Minnesota is a tough matchup here as well, because that's a Minnesota team that, even though they lost some really good pieces defensively, they're going to play a physical, they're just going to play a physical, hard-hitting brand of defense that North Carolina's offense has got to be ready for. And Minnesota's offense, while it does lose a lot of physicality, definitely has all the pieces it needs to be able to get past this North Carolina defense. Now, a lot of it hinges on Anthony Kaliakmanis to see if he develops and will be that quarterback for Minnesota this year after Tanner Morgan leaves town. I am not fully 100% confident in Anthony Kaliakmanis, although I do think he has all the pieces necessary. I think Drake May and company will score enough on this Minnesota defense to be able to walk out with a win. Minnesota's going to make it close, and I think their offense is going to put up points here. This may be a game where Kaliakmanis gets to shine a little bit here as well. But I also think with this North Carolina secondary as well, getting some boost through the portal, I think it'll help them squeak out a win here against Minnesota. Very, very tough game, though, Then you got to go on the road and play Pitt. I think you're going to go on the road and beat Pitt. However, Pitt is a team where you get Phil Jurkovec in this year. There's a lot of talented players offensively, but you lose some key contributors defensively that I think could have helped slow down this North Carolina attack this season. So I got North Carolina going on the road, pulling out another close win. And then you get your bye week. Oh, many nail biters, and what I'm predicting a loss up until this point gets you set and reset for Syracuse. And I think you're going to be able to win that game there as well. Then comes the game, let me talk a little bit more about Syracuse. Garrett Schrader comes back, and that offense can definitely put up points against this Tar Heel defense. But with all Syracuse is losing on their defensive side of the ball, I think Drake May and company will be too explosive, and Syracuse will go down, putting up a pretty solid fight, but I think they'll go down fairly easily for this North Carolina team. Now, you have Miami next up on the schedule here. Miami's got a new offensive coordinator coming in town, but Tyler Van Dyke does come back, and he has got a lot of good weapons around him to be able to really give it to this North Carolina defense, where if it does not improve, they are going to get burned here, and that is what I'm predicting. I think Tyler Van Dyke and company stroll in to Chapel Hill and are going to be able to take down North Carolina. It's just this defense for me. I do not have a lot of faith in this defense. I have faith in it getting better, but how much better will it be? Will it be a top 50 defense? I'm thinking maybe top 80, top 75, but top 50 is maybe what you need to be able to beat Miami, and Miami's got a lot of talented defensive players to be able to slow down North Carolina's offense. They pick up their second loss of 2023 right there. I think they're going to be able to win their next two games, though Virginia is not going to be good. Everyone leaves that program. There is so much going on with Virginia now. Emotions are going to run high this season, but as far as talent level with that football team, there's good reason for concern. And Georgia Tech on the road, look, they're going to be no pushover. Yes, Jeff Sims is leaving to go to Nebraska, but there are some very talented pieces at Georgia Tech with a new head coach in Brent Key. Do not count out Georgia Tech for 2023. They'll give North Carolina a fight, but the Tar Heels put up too many points. They'll beat Georgia Tech, and they will beat Campbell as well. An easy win for them there. So then you get a game against Duke. And again, not a game that North Carolina can afford to overlook. Duke returns pretty much everyone on that offense this season. Blanking on his name for a minute. Riley Leonard at quarterback. There it is. Some very, very good pieces for Duke. Defensively, I also think they can slow down this North Carolina attack a little bit, but I think this is going to be an offensive style game. I think Duke's got a lot of very talented pieces offensively, but North Carolina, I think, has got a little bit too much for Duke. So they go on to win that game. But the end of the season here for North Carolina, the schedule makers did not do them too kindly this year, did they? You got to go on the road and play Clemson, and Clemson absolutely has all the pieces on defense needed to slow down this North Carolina attack, and it's a point late in the year where the offense may be able to get rolling really, really well. Clemson's going to have a lot to play for here. So will North Carolina, but it's tough to go on the road, pull out a win against Dabo in Death Valley. I think they're going to come back and they're going to lose that game. And I also think they're going to lose to NC State there as well. With Brennan Armstrong coming in there, big time, big play quarterback. He's going to be able to make some plays. He's got a lot of talent in the pass catching units and in the backfield as well at North Carolina State. And again, that is a defense as well that can really step up and stick it to this North Carolina offense. So I got the Tar Heels losing that game as well, which leads me to a record of 8-4, which again may be a disappointment to some for this North Carolina team. Look, this offense has all the talent in the world to be able to be an 11-1, 10-2, 9-3 type team, right? They can be better than the record suggests, but they have to improve that defense. If that defense does not get better, it's going to be another rough year for North Carolina in terms of letting up points on the board, and they're going to lose some games because of it. There are a lot of talented offenses they play on the schedule this year. But let me know your thoughts on the Tar Heels in the comment section below. That does it for me, but remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.